Dr. Alausa, while declaring the meeting open, emphasized that the age benchmark was now official and not negotiable. He warned that any admission carried out outside the central admissions processing system will be considered illegal.
Well, he also explained that the decision was guided by the need to strike a balance between academic readiness and cognitive maturity. What does this mean for thousands of students who finished secondary school early? And are we prioritizing maturity over merit? Well, let's talk about this as team lead and EIC Devreporting joins us here this morning. We do have Mr. Mojeed Alabi. He's here with us as well. And by the way, he's also a senior journalist, so I'm sure you've been investigating this this very interesting development. Can you shed more light on what this means, especially for the last question we just highlighted, for those who are likely to get into the tertiary education or system at a very younger age? Are they going to wait?
Yeah, thank you so much. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me again and again. When you look at the age limit set, you will notice, I don't know, probably when you attended primary school, you will have seen that there was a time that except they measure your maturity by placing your hand here, and that wasn't the Wenger's time. So it was what actually what made them to decide on whether you are qualified to go into school or not. But the system of education recognizes 6334. That is 6 years in primary school, 3 years in junior secondary school, then 3 years in senior secondary school. Unfortunately, because so many factors combine to force parents to want to push their kids to actually probably leave school at 13 or 14. And what are these conditions? You realize that because when there is no strict monitoring, no compliance, so schools now struggle to run primary 6, especially private schools. Even if you are attending public schools, they pull you out at primary 4, primary 5. They want you to go and sit common entrance, and you gain admission to...
primary 4, have you completed the syllabus?
That is what we are saying, that why parents are doing that. There are so many reasons for that. But most importantly is the fact that you understand that when you are not sure of when your children are going to leave tertiary institutions, one, for reasons of strike, for reasons of delay, there could be anything. So when you are going for a 4-year course, you can eventually spend 7 years. So the problem is that because people want to cut that corner, they push their kids to go in. But it's not that when you say 16 years, this is actually the global standard. Ordinarily, if you follow what was set originally, you can't finish schools until primary and secondary school. You can't finish until around 16, 17, 18. But today, you see 14-year-olds sitting SSE or examination. So that is not ideal.
I think there's this sense of pride for parents, and I don't know where it's coming from. I think it's a false sense of pride. So, oh, my child has already finished. And then, please, where did we get this idea of double promotion from? And at what point do you double promote a student? We know they are gifted students. We know there are students that are top of their class. But what's the idea behind double promotion? Because it's one of the reasons why children end up in university before 16. Yeah, it is because the government that is supposed to set standard actually abandoned its responsibility. And that is why you see most schools, the bulk of the students are actually trained by private schools. Because you have allowed these mushroom institutions who value profit over merit. So, in fact, if you look at it, in schools these days, in some private schools these days, if parents don't tip teachers, such children in school are either neglected, they don't allow them to take part in certain things because the schools already they already prioritize profit. The teachers themselves are looking for means to survive because they are not properly paid. So everybody is looking at how to gain from the system. And in order to impress some parents, teachers sometimes, they want to, as school owners, they want to say, oh, this one can be promoted twice because the parents are probably part of the major sponsors of their events when they have inter-house sports. And
That's why you see a lot of programs in schools these days, cultural events, cooking days, sporting events, just to make the money you don't want to pay by hiking the school fees, you pay it. Sometimes they say open day, when you are coming for open day, you must come with, at least your pocket must be filled. You will see the teachers, they are already sending messages. Open day is not for you to come and check the children's performance. It's actually to come and see the teachers, because you can't leave this class without giving them something.
So this corruption that we're talking about in the political landscape, this is probably where it starts, because you're already teaching them from the young age and how to cut corners. But we'll come back to talk about education. I want us to veer off a little bit, and we'll come back.
Some of us who pay these levies,
cultural
day, and so on and so forth,
there's
so many of them.
International Day. You start looking for. One of my friends told me that. Please, where can I buy Chinese costume for my daughter's school?
Exactly. International Day and so on. How does that tie with the fact that this age limit would help to curb a lot of, what would I call it? A lot of differences or idiosyncrasies or whatever they call it.
Excesses?
In school. Excess is better.
Yeah, the age limit has always been there. There are institutions that will never admit anybody below 16. One, for some reasons. There are usually schools for the gifted. Those are special schools. You don't allow, because they are not supposed to be treated. You don't have a 13-year-old who is qualified to enter into tertiary institutions. There are specific schools meant for them. They are supposed to be treated differently. What the government is saying, you could recollect that the former minister, Adamu, actually said 18. That was what created the kind of the noise that we had before he was removed. Why he insisted on 18 was because he looked at the policy, the kind of the policy, education policy that we run, 6334. If you say you clock 6 before you gain admission into primary, before you enroll in primary, by the time you finish primary, you're already 12, you're expected to be 12, because you spend another 6 years in primary. After then, you spend another 6 years in secondary school, junior secondary school, and senior secondary school. So at the end of the day, you get to 18. But they have realized that at 8 years, students, pupils are sitting common entrance. There was a particular year that we monitored, and the minister was also saying, look, how old are you? And the baby said, and the pupil said, I'm just 8. It's sitting common entrance. At what age did you enter primary school? So some of these kids are put out early enough. And that is why when they gain admission into schools, they are unable to resist temptations. They are unable to resist bullying. They are unable to resist harassment because they are not mature. So there is this, you know, when you talk about cognitive whatever, you look at, when you speak to psychologists, they tell you what it takes to actually get to a level that you can do certain things.
But if they're academically matured enough to pass the entrance exam, pass JAMB, shouldn't they be allowed?
No, it's not just about passing
the university is a test of your intellectual assessment, and if they've
so that is why universities will say we are awarding, tertiary institutions will say they are awarding you certificates based not just on your academic excellence, but also moral. There are so many things that you cannot say. When you go abroad, the age of admission, even if you are taking your children that are below 18, probably you are going to sign an undertaking. Yes, there are people who send their children abroad. Once they are below 18, you sign an undertaking that I will be responsible, there will be a guardian, there will be this. In fact, their result will be sent to you directly as the parent, as the guardian, because they believe that that age of maturity is not there. We always say it when you go to Finland, there is no competitive exam for any child until the age of 16. That is where they run. I know of a kid who started there, ordinarily our mates, they are currently in SS1, no, going to SS2. But she's still in basic 9 or something like that, just like in primary 6. And the lady was saying, Habibi, because they relocated from Nigeria. And this is a girl who was already approaching SS, our mates, they are already going to SS2 now. We rush here because there is no order, number one. Number two, because people are afraid of what happens to their kids tomorrow. Because by the time you want to apply for jobs, the restrictions are already there. the age restriction. If you are above
10 years
25,
experience.
if you are below, if you are above 25, don't apply. Even government jobs.
Yes.
And these are people who have not even left school at 30. So you see a lot of people cutting corners because they want to. You see people not even declaring their real age. They are going to tell you this football age, this civil service age. This is so. That is the kind of the system that we have created. If we maintain the system and there is sanity, the same way ASU has not gone on strike or SAN on whatever, they actually attempted it yesterday, but it was at least savage. So if we run a system that you can say, I'm entering school at this time, it is sure, at least without any natural disaster or whatever, you can finish by
in 4 years.
4 years. I spent about 7 years to run my degree.
What university?
I attended the only African university, that's Obafemi Awolowo University.
Oh, where are you?
Yeah.
Great effect.
Great. So when I attended, you understand, though there were different reasons. The first year we entered, probably 2000. So 99, 2000, we were supposed to even gain admission 1999. We did not. So we waited for 1 year after sitting exam. By the 1 year when we entered, we spent, the first break we had was 6 months at a stretch because the lecturer said, no, they were going to fix this. During that period, there was a national ASU strike. And the next thing was that another 5 months. So we spent 11 months at home, at a stretch. And because some of us were in the student union without doing anything, so we were suspended for another 4 academic semesters, we were in courts, going to... So what I'm saying in essence is that you are not sure of your tomorrow. So Nigerians are ready to cut corners. Parents are ready to support them to cut that corner because they are also paying through their nose, especially those who are going to private primary and secondary school. So if I'm going to pay 500,000 for my kid and he's going to now escape primary 6, that 1,000 naira is going to save. It's going to be saved. It's going to be with me. So those are some of the reasons. If the public schools are many and the standard there, go to public schools, and the standard there is good, people are going to abide by all this. And that's why what you are going to see next tomorrow is that immediately a child is born and they see signs that this one is going to be fast, people are going to still get affidavit, they are going to change their date of birth, they are going to, because you cannot tell me if my child is 13 and I'm claiming that he's 16 and the evidence shows certificate, birth certificate and everything, you are still going to accept it. Even when in actual fact, that child is either 14 or 13.
So,
Okay, but you're okay with the fact that it's 16 and not 18, right?
Yeah, the 16 is okay when you look at it. The 16 years is okay because when you look at it, Nigerians are not, it is away from what we used to have. In those days, Nigerians no longer compete with Nigerians. They are competing with the global standard. When you have the child, and unlike your time, when you do not have technology that will be able to make things easy for you. You know, probably before now, you have to be searching for libraries all over the places, community library, this library, to even get books. But all these things are available at their fingertips. If we use technology appropriately, these kids are already wizards before they even start at all. So they are already prepared for the future that they are having. So if we can manage that and you can now guide them, that maturity is where the parents should now come. It's not that you just throw. I'm always surprised that parents who have the time still want to free themselves and they throw their children in boarding school. That is not ideal.
it's a sort of daycare for them.
Yeah, so it's like a daycare. But go to some of these boarding schools. That is where you have a lot of bad culture.
They
you have a lot
vices,
of
yes.
so many problems.
In defense of those parents, it's not every parent that, you know, is sending their child to boarding school because they don't want to be directly involved. Because what boarding school ought to be, or what it was today, it was a place where they felt like you can learn community and learn certain strong educational... Exactly. You learn how to be independent. You're not tethered to your parents. So in defense, you know...
Yeah, I agree. That's why I said not everybody. There are parents that you know, and in the same time, in fact, full housewife. And I was surprised that this person took the kids to, in the same Abuja, that was it, took the kids to a boarding school in the same Abuja. But what did we get at the end of the day? Fortunately or unfortunately, at a time when they had to relocate abroad, this boy was already completely spoiled. They had to return the boy from Canada back to Nigeria. and the father was now looking for salvation everywhere. It's a divine intervention. Because at a time when there's nothing that compares parenting. It is you that understand your kid.
Yeah.
But when we abandon the responsibility of parents to the teachers in school, to the caregivers, then you don't go and check. Most of these kids, when they go to school, some of them, when they are returning at the end of the term, most of them have lost everything you bought for them. They are either stolen, they are picked, and that's where they learn. So you can't train your child. They can't train your child the way you would train your child. You understand the idiosyncrasies. You know the family history. You know everything within your home. You knew the conditions through which you gave birth to them. If you are going to tertiary institution, understandable. Let there be some level of parenting that you have been able to say, this is what this child can do at this time.
Yeah, right.
This is what this
I will use myself as an example. I'm a classic example of what happened. My first 2 years, boarding house, as a 10-year-old, I was in Nigerian Military School, Zaria. I had to run away after my second year. End of the term, you've lost everything.
I can't do this.
The only time I'm proud I'm happy is when I wear that uniform and I'm coming back home. End of term. So I understand your point. But let's talk about other educational institutions. Does this apply to polytechnics, monotechnics, College of Education, vocational schools too? Because it's not everyone that wants a university degree.
That's why you see that the minister emphasized that any admission offered outside the central admission processing system will be
illegal.
The reason for this is that ordinarily, JAMB, just like the way you apply abroad to go to schools, ordinarily schools should be able to conduct the admissions themselves. Because the act establishing each institution empowers the Senate, especially in the university system, empowers the Senate to determine admission requirements, how you award degree, even if you are going to retrieve the certificate, that is the power. But the unfortunate thing is that we have more candidates in Nigeria than the space that we have. So in order to at least address that, they created JAMB to do ranking examination. So the exam that JAMB conducts is ranking. That's why you will see that, okay, we have 1.8 million or 2 million sitting exam. What space do we have? Less than 500,000 spaces for all the tertiary institutions that we have. So what do? We have to rank them. Who scores high? And that's why you see 140 for School of Nursing, 150 for universities. Many universities, especially public institutions, will not take anything less than 200. All right. Market. That's normal. They won't take. So it is because some people are going behind the scene. The private institutions that you have, their interest is that they want to have candidates at all costs. So even if you score 150, if not that it was pegged to maybe 100 for Polytechnic, you will see people who will score 80. And they will take them. Because they believe that they are paying and there is no standard. That is why they are maintaining that this standard must be followed. And if you are giving admission to anybody, that admission, you will notice that recently a candidate, a graduate of FUTA was said to have been denied enrollment. The reason is that they said you cannot go for youth service. The reason is that when that admission was conducted, JAMB believed that it was conducted outside the central admission processing system because they did not follow what was described as the ID system. Look at the best candidate this time now. We are aware that the best UTME candidate is currently a 400 level student, medical student in the tertiary institution. So that one is being probed now. Currently, the guy from Anambra is currently a medical student in a tertiary institution.
So why is he writing JAMB?
We do not know.
Maybe he wants to change course. He has realized, he's realized that medicine is
So he's exercising his medulla oblongata.
He's just trying that.
So these are very interesting.
or he has realized that medicine is not for him, that he has a different...
He's already in 400 level.
And maybe you can decide that, you know what, with the way that they're sending, I don't want to graduate and they'll send me to solution.
There are reasons behind it.
You know what,
those reasons are not supposed to be discussed.
You know what we're going to do? We're going to bring you back and we're going to have a special with parents as well. Let's talk about parenting and education. Most importantly, you've highlighted some very key areas that I think our society needs to hear. In
defense of that 400 level student, you don't want to graduate and be sent to solution.
Mr. Mojeed Alabi, thank you for being here. Thank you so much.
We'll
go on a quick break.